Well then, today I will be discussing whether Apple or Android are better. This war has been going on for too long, so let's see if we can come to a conclusion. Before we begin, I have to mention 1, I have used Apple my whole life, however I still will be unbiased, and 2, this is specifically referring to phones, not laptops or tablets. So waste no more time and jump straight into this. Camera quality. Now, they both have their ups and downs. Android have better zoom and a couple more features. However, Apple has just better general quality. Do want to mention that Android have a lot of features Apple don't have. However, there are a lot of apps you can just download to use those features. But to be fair, there are some features that can only be captured with the camera itself, so you can't get an app to use it. I would say that more people use Apple phones for more like professional photography and stuff like that. I know it's a bold statement, but based off experiences and stories I've seen online and all of that, Apple seems to be way more like professional, at least the cameras. So Apple gets the point here. Right off the bat, Android wins by far. Apple screens are dog shit. I'm not even going to try and cover it up. I can say from personal experience, iPhone screens are just absolute horse shit. I can see this from now. Some people are going to say, oh, well, I see way more Android phones that are cracked and that. That's true. I personally agree. However, the problem is since Android are cheaper, more younger people and less mature people get them, which means they're more inclined to break. Apple phone screens are absolutely horse shit. They get scratches easily. So Android gets the point here. It's simple, Apple have better battery health. Other phones may be able to charge more efficiently or more effectively, but Apple batteries just last longer. I've seen multiple tests done for this, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, Mr. Who's Boss made one test on it, and the batteries win. Now I know there's a lot of memes surrounding the poor Apple battery life, but it's kind of just not true. It sounds really harsh, but like I said, there have been tests done and Apple wins. If you're still watching at this point, you most likely genuinely care about the content, so I would ask if you could please like or subscribe, as it helps out a ton. Not to drag this on, back to the video. As for the hardware quality and like performance and that, it's really difficult to say, and people compare phones all the time. The problem is if phones are compared at the same price because Apple overcharge them, other phones win since they're technically cheaper. But then how do you compare them? Because if you compare them based off the same specs, not price, well, you're not really comparing if they're exactly the same. I hope that made sense, so neither get the point here. Another point to Android here for software. Apple software is horrible. It's very limiting. I don't like it. Android phones have so much more flexibility, customization, and all that kind of stuff. Even just the apps and everything in general, Android wins by a mile. Now, as for physical quality, this one's very difficult because it's opinionated, but also it's kind of like what I said about the performance, hard to compare different ones. But also it's opinionated. Personally, I think Apple phones look better. A lot of Android phones try very hard to be quirky and different, in my opinion. Some people love those phones, obviously, and hey, that's cool. But I'm not going to give either a point here because this isn't supposed to be my opinion. As for the App Store / Play Store, this is a very specific thing to choose. However, I wanted to include this, and I feel like it's only fair that Apple gets the point because Apple's system to get apps on their store is way more complex than Android. You may have heard of it, but there was an app, 500,000 people got a virus simply from downloading an app. That doesn't happen on Apple. So it may seem like such an unfair thing to mention in like this kind of comparison video, but I feel like it's fair. So like I said, Apple gets the point here. Now, based off those points so far, Apple wins, as you can see the counter on screen. However, I have some like honorable mentions that I'm not quite counting points for. It's just some extra things that I think are worthy of mentioning. I just wanted to mention that a lot of people hate on Apple simply because they can't afford it. It's just a natural trait for humans. We have desires for things, and when we can't get those things, we're inclined to hate it. It's kind of a fear of missing out, but then you do miss out and then you hate on it. I'm not trying to target people, but I'm just saying we should keep that in mind when hating each other here. This doesn't really prove anything, but I personally know a lot of people who could never afford Apple, but then when they could afford it, buy Apple and never go back to Android. Whereas I've never seen the opposite, that people go from Apple to Android. Now I would cover stuff like which is better for the environment and that kind of stuff, but they're all shit and all big corporations will lie and cover it up. So I genuinely wanted to bring that up because I know a lot of people care about that, but one thing we should keep in mind is corporations don't care about you or the environment, or big corporations at least. They just want money, and so they're more than happy to destroy the environment for it. So I would have made that to be like a point situation, but they're all equally shit, so no one gets a point. Like I said, that's all that's actually discussing which is better. Now I just have some extra things I want to talk about. So honestly, feel free to just click away if you're not interested in this, since we've already come to a conclusion, but these are some extra things I thought to add to the video. Apple's expensive because of social conditioning. They don't make their products more expensive because they're better quality, they make it more expensive because they made people believe it's worth more, and now they can do that. If we can afford it in Android, that's totally cool. I'm not trying to come across as like I'm attacking you or something. I just wanted to come to a conclusion of which phone is better, kind of once and for all, because as we all know, there's this massive like war between Apple and Android, always fighting which is better. I thought hopefully we can have a calm discussion about which is better. I think some people are going to say, oh, you're just saying Apple's better because you're privileged and you can afford it. What are all the people who can't afford it? I know I'm privileged. I'm not going to lie about it. I know I am. I can afford it. Apple, I've been able to afford Apple my whole life, and I'm very thankful for that. But like I said, this isn't an attack. I'm not saying you're like worse if you have an Android or something. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter which one you prefer. No one has a reason to dislike someone based off the phone they prefer. That's very childish. I wanted to make this video, as arrogant as this is going to sound, to come to like a statistical conclusion of which is better. At the end of the day, you're welcome to have whatever opinion you want. I have my opinion, you have your opinion. Please don't be a piece of shit in the comments to other people. Respect each other's opinions. Let's have calm discussions, shall we? And I will catch you all next time. Have a good one.